Matt Edwards, Executive Director of Citizens Alliance of Idaho and its Idaho Signal program, is joining me today. Thank you, Matt, for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I appreciate you being here with you.
So it's a little bit of the inverse. Come the session, I'll be on your show, but so I'm happy to have you on my show here before we get started. Can you tell folks, who you are, what you do, how you got to where you are?
Yeah, well, yeah, this is a little bit different since normally I'm asking you the questions when getting your expertise on stuff. So, but I appreciate you having me here. You've got a great outlet and a lot of great readers and viewers out there. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Edwards, and yeah, I'm executive director of Citizens Alliance of Idaho. It's a 501c4 legislator accountability project. So we our entire operation is based on what we call the pledge. And the pledge is a set of 10 statements that we ask legislators to sign. And it's kind of just your basic boilerplate constitutional, you know, conservative issues dealing with topics and things that happen throughout our state. And we're basically just asking legislators to sign the pledge because, as you may or may not agree, all legislators, when they get elected, they swear an oath to the Constitution. And I think probably in the last 50, 70 years, that looks a lot different. The opinions on how to read the Constitution than there are today. You have both Republicans and Democrats swearing the same oath to the same Constitution, but it tells you nothing about their values. And so the pledge is designed to really get at the heart of what people believe, what they will vote for, what they will vote against. And like I said, if you swear to uphold the Constitution, yet you're reading the First Amendment differently, or the Second Amendment, or anything else, throughout the entire Constitution of both the state and the federal, there's widely different opinions on how to interpret that, and a lot of those things get, of course, settled in the court system. But rather than wait all that time to figure out if this person is how they will interpret it, let's just ask them their values. So I'm pleased to say that as of just this week, we now have 42 out of the 105 sitting legislators who have signed our pledge and are currently in good standing with the pledge.
So you mentioned good standing with the pledge. What exactly does that mean?
Oh, so there's a lot of, I mean, we have to hold these people accountable, right? They sign a pledge. You've got hundreds and hundreds of bills that come through the legislature each year. And so we read every single one and we look at it and say, okay, does this bill have anything to do with the pledge? Is this bill about free speech? One of the planks of the pledge deals with free speech. Okay, well then let's look at the bill and decide whether or not it violates the First Amendment or it supports the First Amendment, or maybe it's neutral. That stuff happens. And so, just like a lot of other accountability organizations out there, we look at the bills, we rate the bills, and then we have a system, a metric where we take all the bills that apply to the pledge and determine whether or not someone is in good standing or in bad standing with the pledge. We don't publish a number. We don't publish a hard percentage of how someone did. We just kind of look at the spirit of their voting record. And we give leeway for practical votes, for personal reasons, for things that happen to do with their district. But as long as somebody is steering in the right direction with what they've signed for on the pledge, then we consider them in good standing, and we champion their efforts. We hope they continue to move forward, and we kind of try to build a coalition that brings in more pledge signers. People that are maybe sitting on the couch wondering whether or not they should run. They can see that, oh, look, there's a bunch of people in this particular body of politic who is going in the right direction when it comes to their values, and so maybe they want to join them. And the other thing that it tells us is that those who either refuse to sign the pledge because either they just disagree with the values within, or they're just kind of wishy-washy, or they know they don't vote the right way and they just don't want to get in the middle of it, they're in bad standing. Or if they just continue to violate the pledge by voting against what they promised they would vote for, they're considered in bad standing. And that's where we get to hold them accountable and signal to their constituents, to the folks that live in their district, that, hey, if you agree with us on these values and how important they are, then we want to let you know that your legislator isn't living up to that promise, or they refuse to sign the pledge, and this might be a concern to you. So it's just simply about educating the public on where they stand. There is a middle area. We call it the questionable standing, because we don't want just one vote to put you over the top into good or into bad. So there's this kind of a little bit of a wiggle room in the middle, these little squishy types, that we try and get back up into the green. So it's green, yellow, and red, is the old stoplight thing, where green is good and red is bad.
You said, hold the elected officials accountable to the pledge and to their voters. How do you go about doing that?
Well, like I said, a lot of it's just educating the voters throughout the year. We'll do a lot of, we'll put out our newsletters. We'll put out things specifically within their district, either via social media, radio, television. They call it OTT. When you're watching your Roku or your Google Fire Drive, whatever these things are. The ads that pop up in between that come up on your phone. And again, just education, trying to explain where these folks are on these issues, and that happens throughout the year. Then the other arm of all this is a PAC, political action committee. So you've covered a lot of this yourself, and so outside of the C4, Citizens Alliance of Idaho also has a PAC, and that PAC will do independent expenditures during election season, supporting candidates who have upheld their good standing with the pledge, and or new candidates who will sign the pledge and are taking on, quote, a bad standing legislator. And so our goal is to just simply replace bad standing legislators with good standing legislators, and that's it. So all of that independent expenditure work is done through mostly door knocking. Our organization strongly believes in the power of door knocking, and I'm completely sold on it. And we've just, in the last two election cycles, 22 and 24, have we believe operated the largest door knocking campaign in Idaho history. Under one umbrella, one organization doing an entire door knocking campaign. We've knocked over 200 and blah 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 something thousand doors in both of those elections, primary and general. Door knocking is just it's expensive, it's hard, but it is the most effective to get out your message.
How often would you say that somebody who signs the pledge ends up in bad standing?
Oh, that's a good question, because, and this is why I think our model works, Brian. Like, when we first debuted in 2021, we were a nobody. It was the pandemic, right? We were still in the pandemic. We were still trying to figure out, like, who to hold accountable. Was it the federal government? Was it our city council? And this particular project, again, it dealt with the states, and the states are the most powerful. They're the ones that have the most impact on our daily lives, right? I mean, your work covering the state is so crucial, because we uncover so many things that we could just take care of in state, that most people are complaining about the federal government. They want them to do it, right? I digress a little bit, but if we go back to 21, and we were asking people to sign the pledge, I think we got a total of about 18 that signed. I could be off. It could be a little bit more than that. But when the session ended, when the 2022 session ended, I believe we had about five people in bad standing, and who signed the pledge. Everybody else who, like I said, if you don't sign the pledge, you're in bad standing, because we believe that it takes political courage and integrity to say publicly, yeah, these are the things that I'm going to vote for. And people can go to our website and read the pledge. But what happened at the end of 22, having a bunch of these folks in bad standing, was somewhat surprising, but not unexpected. I mean, some folks said, when they heard that, I believe it was Senator Fred Martin at the time, signed our pledge, and people were surprised. They're like, "Oh, he's not going to do very well." And we said, "Well, he signed it. Maybe he wants to take on the challenge, you know." And yeah, I know he failed miserably, and so he had a challenger, and as did some of these other folks. Some of them didn't have a challenger, and that's the hard part. If they don't have a challenger, there's really nothing that you can do to get them out of office. So you need a challenger to take them on. That being said, educating the voters, right, and telling them, hey, he signed this or she signed this, and this is where they ended up. And so, because of our work in 22, and we feel we contributed a lot to this. We saw that 2022 election, it was a massacre of incumbents. I believe there were at least 7 incumbent senators who were chairman, vice chair of certain committees, right? That got beat by a challenger, by first time challengers. Some maybe have run once or twice before. And then the same thing in the House. There was this giant turnover, and then when 2023 came around and the class was seated, it was like a freshman city, right? If you recall. And then the same thing, to a certain extent, the same thing happened in 24. So during those 2 elections, we were able to scour the state looking for folks to sign our pledge. And when you have people who are running and they say, "Yeah, I'm going to sign that pledge because I want your support, and B, that's exactly the stuff that I believe in, and I want to go to Boise to help preserve," and so now we're sitting at a spot where we have 42 who have signed the pledge, a majority of them having been elected in either 2022 or 24, and they ran as a pledge signer. And so we're at a stage now where all of them are in good standing, and I'm thinking to myself, this it's working. You find good people who believe in these values, you back them, you give them support, and they get there. Now, a few of the ones that were elected in 22 lost their race in 24. We'll see what happens in 26. There's some folks that lost in 22. They're going to run in 26. So, it's a, what do you call it? It's like, you swap in, you swap out, tag team kind of thing. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Brian? Do you think we're gonna up the numbers when it comes to true conservatives in 2026?
Well, I certainly hope so. That's the trouble when you're a very small group, when you're an insurgency. If there's only 5 or 10 or 15, really solid conservatives who are working together, then one, it's easy to stay united because eyes on the prize. We need to win more. We need to call out these people who are claimed to be Republican, but they're voting in a very non-Republican way. And so that's easier then, and you have less to defend as well. Those 5, 10, or 15, well, you just can focus your resources on their races plus a few more to try and gain some ground. Now, if you've got 30, 40, 50 conservatives, first of all, that makes unity a bit harder because everybody starts fighting over their pet issues and trying to expel the others from the movement. But also defending those seats is now harder because your opponents are going to be targeting a whole bunch more, and it's like the ground you're trying to hold is much bigger, which is great, but it also means that's a lot more ground you have to hold.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the struggle we're coming up with now, right? Like, if all 42 of our pledge signers have competitors, that's 42 races that we need to defend. If they have serious competitors, right? Luckily, the way the makeup of the state is you see this sort of stronghold, in the north, coming down I-95 or whatever highway that is, 95 down into the Treasure Valley, and that's kind of like the bulk of our pledge signers are in that stretch. But they don't typically get a lot of, at least now, they don't typically get a lot of opposition that to the right of them. Right. So if they're going to be coming from, if there are going to be competitors to these folks, in the northern part of the state, they're going to have to come from the more of the establishment side or the progressive side of the Republican Party in these primary races, and they don't go over so well because the more militant folks in Idaho tend to be tend to be up north, and it's very active politically. So the good news is, for at least for now, is like there may not be so much defense that needs to happen with every single one of our pledge signers. That being said, you can't sit back. You got to be vigilant. You got to keep reminding the folks who these people are. I want to make our pledge signers rock stars. I mean, like there are so much great minds, so many great statesmen that are in our state that sit in that body, and the traditional Idaho press just ignores them. And anytime, like I feel like anytime somebody wants to talk to former Senator Scott Herndon, it's always about like white supremacy or something. They never really want to talk about an actual issue. I mean, he has a brilliant mind, and no one reaches out to him for comment. Now, granted that, like I said, he's a former senator at the moment, but he's a prominent person in the Republican Party, and certainly has a voice. But there's plenty of folks throughout the state that have statesman quality and that don't get asked their opinion on just random ideas that you see in the press. The way the press reaches out to all the Democrats, so to speak, or the establishment folks. You really don't see that. You really don't see someone calling up Dale Hawkins or Senator Zito or or Barbara Ehart in the East, and let's get your opinion on this particular issue. Unless they're the center of the controversy. You know what I mean? So that's why your program is so important, because you do talk to all these people and you give them a voice. And I want to see them flourish. I want to see their ideas. I want to see them inspiring people to continue forward.
Yeah, I was. You mentioned statesmen, and so both Gem State Chronicle does the Statesman and Stateswoman of the Year. Both of them were legislators this year, and both of them, Representative Jordan Redmond and Representative Barbie Hart, are both pledge signers in good standing. So I think
that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think there's a I mean, you have the caucuses, right? You have the Gang of Eight caucus, you've got the Idaho Freedom Caucus, you've got the No Caucus people, or just the Republican caucus people. And like our pledge is it's so simple, it's so easy that every single one of the Gang of Eight have signed it. They've been signers since we were around, and all of the Freedom Caucus folks too, and the folks that have left the Freedom Caucus or whatever, however you want to delineate throughout. I'm very proud of and very honored to have them as a part of this coalition, and it's just going to keep building. I mean, we've had, we do candidate trainings, which I know you've helped out on and been to, and we have these trainings across the state where we show potential candidates, people who are thinking about running, people who are already committed to running, how to raise money, how to set up your volunteer list, who to target when you're out there, door knocking or sending out messaging, what your messaging should be, how you should market yourself, what you should look at as the weaknesses of your opponent, and all of the different methods. We spent an entire day going through all of that, and it's so great when I first meet somebody in a training, never heard of them before, never met them before, maybe talked to them once or twice on the phone to get them there. And now they're voting in the House or the Senate, and you're like, it's working. It is working. It is working.
I will vouch for the quality of the candidate trainings. I've been to several, and though I haven't run for anything myself outside of precinct committeeman and district chair, I find that it makes sense, and that the people who implement what they learn in those trainings tend to be successful. I think the first time I met Senator Josh Kaiser was at a candidate training. Representative Kent Marmon was at a candidate training. So the people who go through that, they really learn a lot. And I'll watch other people run campaigns who haven't been through the training. And it's kind of like being on courtside at a basketball game where you're watching and you're thinking, you're not doing that right. And I'm just thinking of all the things that, hey, if you went to the training, you'd be doing this right and this right and this right. It's, covering the basics. Obviously, in the end, it's, the quality of the candidate and how hard they're willing to work and the environment they're in. But this is like the fundamentals of campaigning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. And I think one of the things that I'm very happy happens is a great person shows up and doesn't quite know what to expect when they run, right? And then they get a fire hose of information and they realize because they're a principled person, because they want to do it right, that this isn't the season for them, right? They go, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. I want to do it like it's being shown to me here. And so I'm going to wait a cycle or two, so I can really do this right. Because when you are, you know, running, especially from a grassroots level, it takes every ounce, right? The grassroots does not have the privilege of being appointed to seats, right? We don't have the privilege of knowing people in high places who will say, "Oh, you don't have to run. We'll just appoint you. So and so and will retire. Your name will be put in a hat. I will select it. You will be this, you'll be this, and then the next thing you know, you'll be governor." That doesn't happen to the grassroots. You got to fight for it, man. So,
Well, I wanted to briefly ask about, I guess an elephant in the room in that, all of this, the pledge, the candidate trainings, the C4, the PAC, uh, critics say that it's all run from out of state. How,
right.
how would you explain that? What's the actual relationship to Idaho itself and to the people of Idaho?
Well, I mean, I live in Idaho. I live up in North Idaho. We have a board on our a C4. They work and run businesses here in Idaho. We are incorporated in Idaho, and we have hundreds of donors who donate money to us in Idaho. But we're also part of a national organization, if you will, called Citizens Alliance, and there are three other states that have Citizens Alliances with a pledge and do similar things that we do here. And because of that, our national, organization raises money all over the country from states and cities and places that have no affiliation with Citizens Alliance. They just see what's going on and they want to help preserve liberty in our country. And so money will get raised, and then our state will receive grants in order to help operate. So I don't know. Some people just don't get that, but I mean, all the decisions, everything that happens here in Idaho, is yours truly. I mean, it's what we do. So I don't know the donors who are donating at the national level. Like I said, I get a grant to operate in Idaho, and I have, like I said, the donors that donate to us directly because we're here now, and I've met people, and so we'll do fundraisers, or we'll have a link to donate, and we'll do, on Idaho Signal, we'll do a call out, a shout out for support. So look, I guess you could, are we an out of state? Are we an in state? You be the judge. I don't know. All I know is all I do is work on Idaho. I live here. I reach out to all of our Idaho legislators, and everything we do here is affects Idaho, and that's my sole mission. Is that.
I remember working at Idaho Freedom Foundation a couple of years ago, and people would say that they would accuse the organization of being funded by a big out of state dark money. And having been in the room and seeing the lists of donors, I could say no, that's not necessarily true. It's people right here in Idaho, your friends, your neighbors. But obviously, being a C3 and also a C4, depending on how much electioneering you do, you're not necessarily going to be disclosing those donors, and a lot of those donors don't want to be disclosed because they want
Right.
to just be able to give to something without being harassed. Because if somebody got a hold of IFF's donor list or Citizens Alliance of Idaho's donor list, yeah, those people would have targets on their backs from mainstream media, from political activists who don't like the fact that conservatism is winning. So it's you just got to be able to say, trust me on this. This is an Idaho thing.
I guess, yeah. I mean, like you said, there the we We live in a time where, I mean, look, Charlie Kirk was shot, right, in public, and you've got this shooting at the Brown University. We're still trying to figure out what the motives are for that. I, I'm under no illusion that, and I'm not going to apologize for how we raise money and or who's donating to us, because our cause is righteous, our cause is truth, and I know that the people who believe in the mission of what we're doing are doing it because they believe in it. They believe in it, and it's not the right who is going around trying to dox the ACLU donor list or the SPLC donor or whatever it is, trying to figure out who's donating to who, and then showing up to their door and threatening them, right? Like, that stuff happens from the left. And so I thank God for our privacy laws and our First Amendment laws that say, like, look, if you are going to be doing, educational work and advocacy work on behalf of a particular, ideology or belief system or worldview, and you're able to keep your donors private, then by all means, then keep them private. I'm public. I'm the one that's out there. I have my face out there. I have my phone number. I have my email address. You could probably figure out where I live if you did some hunting. So if you want to go after somebody, you come after me. Come after me. I put myself out there, right? But you don't need to be going after, the retired grandparents out there who I get cards in the mail, and they say, "Merry Christmas. Thank you for all you do and the podcast." And look, it's cursive writing, so they're old people, Brian. And a check that comes along with it, right? Like, I'm not going to disclose who they are and let them get harassed. Are you kidding me? But I will say this: when it comes to the political action stuff, right? You've got that's electioneering, right? So all of that money is public money, right? So we have laws in this country that say if you're going to do political work, you have to disclose who those donors are, right? So everything that we have is all sunshine reported, whether it's the federal level or the state level. And so if you're willing to write us a check on the PAC side, yeah, your name's going to be listed. But you know what? I welcome you. You're a partner. We're in this fight together. And you put your butt on the line. You put your name out there and said, this is the stuff I believe in. I think Citizens Alliance is doing the right thing. I believe in door knocking. I believe in the messaging. I believe in saving our state. And so if you're willing to put your name out there, then join me. We ride together. That's our motto. So, I can't force people I don't force people to sign the pledge. I don't force people to donate. We operate. I've got a fantastic national partner in Cliff Maloney, who's out there busting his butt every day for you guys, for me, for Idaho, right? He's going, you're doing great work, Matt, in Idaho. Here's a grant. Keep it up, right? So anytime someone's out there bad mouthing any of this stuff that we're doing, I got to remind you, man, you're thinking wrong. You should be saying thank you. You should be, if you're the conservative, you should be saying thank you, because it could all end like that.
Yeah.
Sorry for the tirade.
No, that's great. I saw you pick up the card there, and I've got one on my desk here that somebody sent a couple months ago. It just sits out here and underneath my screen as a reminder of to be encouraged that there are folks out there who support what I do and are
Yes.
not only those who subscribe and pay to help me do what I do, but also just the ones who send notes and encourage me and say, hey, I love what you're doing. It's helpful. Keep it up.
Yes. Yes. That's it, Brian. And I tell you, man, I get a warm feeling of humility anytime one of those cards or letters or checks show up. I get an email that says so-and-so donated $25, or every month, some people are on a monthly rotation, and here comes another 25, here comes another 50. And it's like, I want to send them something every time it happens. I don't know what to do. The only thing I know what to do, and you do the same, is just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep fighting. So I'm with you, man.
Just one more thing on that subject. Brent Regan's voice keeps echoing in my head. 3.5 years ago at the state convention in Twin Falls, when he nominated Dorothy Moon for chair of the Republican Party, he said that Republicans are being hunted, and he lists off all the ways we were. And then he said, that's why we need a fighter. And, things like this, seeing, candidates, rise up and put their names on the line, and
Yeah.
in some cases their lives on the line. I mentioned Representative Redmond earlier. He
Redmond.
got violent threats. What was it? Somebody actually came to his business office. I don't remember the details, but it was something pretty scary. And he's got a wife, he's got a young family, so it's not like he's some loner with nothing to lose. He's got a lot to lose, and a lot of these people in the arena have a lot to lose, as we've seen with Charlie Kirk, with that young woman who was killed at Brown University. But we need people to put themselves on the line in order to save our state and save our country.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. I don't know what's left. I mean, God put us all on a certain trajectory. I don't know if I feel like if this is what God wants me to do until I join him, then I guess that's what I'm doing. This is the work. I know the treasures exist in the afterlife. They're not here. And but I got to do something, and this is my work. I mean, this is like a second life for me. It's like, I'm a filmmaker. I made a career in Hollywood, working, producing and directing and writing, and working with other filmmakers. Like, it's bizarre to me that I'm in this situation now, but I'm blessed. I feel blessed by it, and I feel guided by it. And I've been able to meet some fantastic people like yourselves, and so many great people across the state. So many people that have put their name on the line, and sometimes they don't know what they're getting themselves into. I mean, I can't imagine that Jordan would have ever thought he would have had death threats like the way he did because he was running a Medicaid bill, and it's scary. It's scary, but you just you have faith, and you keep praying.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, what I wanted to cover Idaho Signal before we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, this is what I think going to be your third year, and I was, a guest the first time, and then last year was a contributing editor, and looking forward to doing that again this year. So tell us, what is Idaho Signal, and what can we look forward to?
Yes, Brian. Yes. So Idaho Signal is it's a live daily program that airs Monday through Friday, 11:30 Mountain, right in the middle of session. So when the legislative session is happening, we are live. We've got tapped into the feed, if you will, of what's happening on the House floor and the Senate floor, monitoring all of the committees and all the different hearings that are happening, and basically just providing a window, just an hour a day into what's going on at the legislature. And your contributions have been fantastic because I do it. I'm not in Boise when this is going on. Largely, I'm in the studio here, and so you're on the ground there. You're able to go to the Capitol, which is great to have you on there. And then throughout the week, we'll have legislators on to talk about their legislation, to talk about their bills, the roadblocks that are happening, the wins that are happening, what to expect. And really, the largest impact that we can have on the show is sort of this real time activation. If we need be, there was quite a few bills last year that really needed the voice of the people. And so we can all get distracted by so many things that are going on throughout the day, and so many things that are going on in the Capitol. The beast, the establishment, the machine loves distractions because it can just then operate without anybody paying attention to them. But when we saw, and I believe this was 2 years ago, or was it last year? It was last year when they were redoing the budget process, splitting the budgets out and having these maintenance bills and then having these additional enhancement bills. And when they were going through that process, we made sure that we were talking to folks and telling them and trying to explain to them what was going on, because behind the scenes it was mayhem. It was absolute mayhem. And so, but to put a finer point on it, something like the mask mandate bill, like fighting against that, like being able to say, hey, this bill is in committee tomorrow. You need to sign up to testify. You need to send in your emails or your comments now. Sign the petition. It really is something that can happen real time to motivate people to stay engaged. And then we want to have some fun too. So we're super happy to have Lily Almon at In the Know Idaho on the program last year, and I'm happy to say she's coming back again to provide some fantastic content. I know today is or tomorrow's the 18th, which I think is the beginning of the TPUSA AmFest down in Arizona. So I know she's headed to that, so she'll have some great footage for us, hopefully to share once we get rolling in January. So it starts January. Is it the session the 12th, I believe,
Yep.
with the State of the State address?
Yeah.
Um,
Dorothy Moon will give her presentation. Whatever the party decides at the winter meeting, which is the weekend before the session starts,
mhm.
all the resolutions. She'll deliver that address in the Lincoln Auditorium at 11 a.m. And then the governor usually 1:30 gives his state of the state. So, Idaho Signal will be there right in between.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be on the air doing a preview of it, and then we'll probably just let it run, when it airs. So, and I'm sure you'll have your commentary available as well. Hopefully we'll get you on as well. But we're on all the streaming channels, so we'll be on Rumble and YouTube and Facebook and X and Telegram. If you're part of our small Telegram family, we'll be on Telegram. And then it's archived. So if you miss it, you can listen to it later. There's also a live feed. Have you turned into the live feed, Brian? If you go to Idaho, if you go to idahosignal.live, it just loops. It's like it's Idaho Signal is just looping in the back and on this like radio channel, internet radio channel. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's been really fun doing that. It's been really fun, and you can call in. People can call in. We show clips. It's like watching a regular news program, right? It's like.
Yeah, and that's actually something I've been thinking about and talking about. We've been talking about it for a couple of years now. I'd say is how do we build a conservative media ecosystem? Because what I'm doing, what you're doing, what we're doing with Idaho Signal, what some of the other folks around the state are doing is important, but none of us quite have the resources, say, of the Idaho Statesman or the Idaho Capital Sun, which is basically a left-wing group that wants to put local newsrooms in every single state.
Right.
They actually do some good work. They do some good comprehensive coverage of the Capitol, but it's always going to be a little slanted, of course. So
you're too kind.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, we're trying to build something, and I think Idaho Signal is a great program. It's live. It's right there in the Capitol, at least when I'm there, and it's talks to the people who are actually doing things there, the legislators who are actually drafting legislation and carrying bills and debating them on the floor. We've had you've had lawmakers who they get off the floor and immediately turn on their phone and they're right there telling you just what happened. And it's a great resource. I've heard a lot of feedback from people through over this last year saying, "Oh yeah, I loved that Idaho Signal show."
Yeah, it's great. It'd be fun to do it all year round, but it's quite taxing to put on a show like that with such limited resources. But yeah, Brian, you're right, man. I hope people who watch your content and watch our content kind of can see the future here, right? Because it's like I would love to have that program and then kick it to you, for the next hour, right? And there's Brian. There's so many people around the state that are talented in this space that can deliver good content. I just saw the news that Greg Pruitt, who runs the Idaho Dispatch, had to once again wind down Idaho Dispatch, which I thought was another great resource for. Sure, he's a conservative and he tried to present the news as unbiased as possible, and I think he did a good job. But once again, it takes money. And you can't do this without, and it's not just like people donating money. It takes a substantial amount of philanthropic type of money, right? Like George Soros and his billions and billions of dollars, he's not looking for a return on his investment when it comes to that specific thing he's funding. The return he's looking for is cultural change. And so if you want cultural change, you have to invest in these things. And it's not that expensive nowadays. I mean, what we do on par with the way our program is put together, and it could sit on any one of these, ON Newsmax channels that we do. The things that you could do out of where you are can easily be something that's contributed and part of a huge network of things. So, and the fact that we're just Idaho focused, we don't focus on national news. We just focus on what's going on in Idaho. It's so important. It's so important. What happens at the national level is so beyond that. They're so lost, Brian. It's such a lost cause. I mean, we have the House, the Senate, and the White House and we can't get anything done. We can't get anything done. They're still fighting him. But here in our state, we are building a huge majority, a larger majority of conservatives in the House and Senate. And they read your stuff. I talk to them. We know where we're headed, and it's not going to happen like that. It's not going to happen overnight. But what it's also going to take is people that are willing to put some skin in the game, that are willing to recognize that when they complain about what they see on KTVB or KHQ or any of these networks or the Statesman or the Press, whatever it is, like, and they go, what can we do? Well, there's folks out there like you, there's folks like this, our program at Idaho Signal, that are looking for ways to just beef it up and equalize the narrative. That's been our motto of the first 2 seasons of Idaho Signal. It's equalize the narrative. And that's all we're looking for, just equal ground. So I wish you the best of luck too, Brian.
Yeah. And vice versa. This is one of those spaces, one of those ecosystems where I think rising tides lift all boats.
Yeah.
And so, I'm happy to work with you, and I'm happy to, partner with some of the other, conservative media, independent media throughout the state in helping amplify each other. Because, you're right. Idaho focused means it's a much smaller pool. There's no One America News. There's no America's Voice. There's no, Newsmax.
Right.
None of that level of networks at this level. But so if there's going to be something, I guess we just have to build it.
Yeah, we just have to build it, man. And I'm thrilled when I look at our numbers and I'm like, holy cow, 200 people watched that episode. Like, that's huge. We're only a state of 2 million. But if you've got 200 people on this platform watching and 200 people over here, that's going to have an impact, and they're going to share stuff. And, people may look at our YouTube channels and stuff and go, oh, they have such a small footprint. But again, I'm not talking about the White House and Trump or what's going on in Syria or Gaza or Nigeria or anything. We're talking about what's going on in Blaine, what's going on in that county, or what's going on in Bonneville or whatever. And again, highlighting stories that the media doesn't talk about, right? I mean, we had one story come out about Representative Mickelson, the Investigate West, the Daniel Walters guy over in Washington. It had to be a Spokane outlet. Broke the news on an Idaho Republican, and then nobody else talked about it, but we're going to keep pounding away on it. Those are some of the things we're going to keep pounding away on. So,
yeah. And I know there's a lot of people who, who trust me to help get that information out there. So it's a privilege and a, great responsibility to be in this world.
It is very responsibility. Yeah.
So, Matt Edwards, thanks for your time. Is there anything else you want people to know? Where can people find you? What's coming down the pipe?
Yeah, just follow me on X, True Matt Edwards, and go to our website, citizensallianceidaho.org, and that'll be your porthole into everything else we do. So that's it, man. Thanks for coming, Brian. I appreciate it. And I can't wait to ramp up Idaho Signal and get you back on ours as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being on there again in just a couple of weeks. But for now, thank you and have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.